Princess again. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be setting up a new bullet journal, which is exciting. It's a fun new project. I'm going to be using my 2018 bullet journal as reference to see what kind of things I feel like worked for last year, what kind of things didn't work for last year, and then kind of modify it from there. So there's some things that I'm going to include, some things I'm not going to include, and just kind of we'll see how it takes a life of its own, basically. Another major difference is that I'm going to be using a different notebook. Usually I use a Leuchtturm 1917, and that has worked for me very well in the past, but I just discovered a new planner company called Clever Fox, and what I like is that their paper quality is really, really good, and it doesn't bleed or ghost quite as badly. Actually, it doesn't really bleed or ghost at all. It has a few less pages than a Leuchtturm, but I think that it's going to work out fine for me. I tend to have pages left over at the end of the year anyways, and I'm not even going to be doing January or February this year because I've been using a golden coil planner for that. Now I do want to kind of briefly talk about the golden coil planner. I did a video on it, and so I've been starting to use it for this year. And while I love that it's customizable and I love that it's just like a setup planner, it's really perfect for people who like to just have something ready to go and just need to have a planner to kind of plan out their busy days. That said, I like the creativity and the kind of open forum of being able to completely make a journal from scratch. I like to do spreads and lists and have dump pages, and so I feel like that's something that I needed to have in my journal just to make sure that I don't know, I just feel like that's something that I really use a lot. So that's why I decided to kind of ditch the golden coil for now, and if I ever decide that I'm not feeling doing a bullet journal, which I doubt, I can always jump back into it because it's already dated and it's ready to go. So anyways, that's enough about that. We're sorry if you can hear my kids playing in the background. They're a little bit rowdy. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't subscribed already, be sure to subscribe, and I am gonna have another great video coming up next of how I set up my March plan with me. So stay tuned. All right, let's get into it. So here I am kind of just showing you basically how I'm gonna be referencing my 2018 bullet journal. So like the very first thing that I need, which the Clever Fox journal doesn't have, is an index. Leuchtturm has, I believe, 3 pages for an index, but I never end up using the 3rd page. So I just used this 2-page spread to be my index, and I figured that was enough. And then I love to do a year at a glance. That's something that I do every year. I feel like I reference it all the time. So I wanted to kind of mimic what I did last year just because I really, really loved how it looked. And I'm also really feeling florals for some reason. I just love florals. So for 2019, I'm not doing it exactly the same as last year, but I am incorporating florals and kind of doing the larger numbers on top with the calendar on bottom. I feel like this layout it fits really nicely, and it like just looks really cute. So here's me just kind of starting off with a few little daisies, and then from there I add some branches with leaves, and then after that I'm adding some kind of they're like geometric roses to kind of fill in the space, and then adding a few extra leaves here and there. And then what I ended up doing later actually was also filling in extra space with a few little dots, so I thought that that was just nice. So I'm continuing that for all of the numbers just because I like to make sure that, you know, they're all consistent. So I basically followed the exact same pattern for all of the numbers going through. And so there's my son. What I also wanted to mention is that I used pencil to outline the numbers because I want to make sure that I have it clear, and then I ended up at the end tracing the numbers just because I figured that it was a little bit too open. I could have left it like this with just the negative space, but I felt like tracing it would be a nice way of making it pop a bit more. So the video kind of cut out, and so I just wanted to like jump right ahead. That is basically the finished product of it with it traced out. And so then from there I just did the calendar, and the amount of pages is a little bit different from what I'm used to, so I just had to plan it out a little bit differently. But I was able to fit 6 months per page, which worked out pretty nicely. I believe this has 29 squares across. The squares are a little bit smaller than the Leuchtturm, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then I used my Tombow twin tone pens to add the color. I wanted to just add a little bit of color, nothing too crazy. And then here, what I'm doing is I'm working on my future log. I tend to use my future log as both a future log and a calendex. And if you're not really familiar with either of those terms, essentially what a future log is a way of being able to plan out months in advance. So say 3 months from now you're going to a wedding. That's a good way to just put down in your calendar, block out those days. Sorry about my hair. It's just a few ways, or a way to block out those days in your calendar, so that way when you're going to that week and starting to plan it, you can have an obvious reference right there and know what days you have to block out. And then a calendex is essentially a way of planning as you go. So for instance, say I'm, in a certain week and I made an appointment 2 weeks in advance. Well, because a bullet journal is set up in a way that you are essentially planning as you go, I would write down in my weekly setup the appointment, the date and time, all in red, and then I would flip to this page, find that date and time, and then write the page number that I'm referencing. And so that way I can quickly know, oh, okay, the 14th of April, I need to reference page 235 or whatever. And so that's basically how I use mine. And then the next page, I wanted to do goals again. I felt like I didn't complete the goals that I had set out for 2018, and I think that part of the reason why was because I didn't really reference it as much as I really should have. So I'm hoping that this will be something that I actually look back on and kind of repeatedly go through and, read and remind myself that this is something that I wanted to set out and do. So I just wanted to make the page really pretty and kind of something that I want to focus on, and just make it like an eye-catching piece, because then it makes me feel like I'm really putting time and effort into the goals. And then I also wanted to mention that the fine liner I'm using right now is my Arteza fine liner, and I really, really like it a lot. I've been using these a lot more lately versus my Staedtler ones, mostly because the color assortment is huge. It's a really big set, and I really, really love just all the different colors and the quality of it. And like I mentioned in my intro, the paper quality of this bullet journal is amazing, so it's not going to bleed. So my video cut out, and I really apologize for that. So now I'm just going to show you an overview of what it looks like, of what I just did, and then you'll see what the goals page looked like at the end. I ended up making another future log page after this, just to include the other 6 months. And so that's what the goals page looks like. And then I also added just a quick little YouTube video ideas and a quote saying challenge yourself, just for inspiration. And that's it. So I hope you guys like the video, and if you do, just be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, and I'll see you all in my next video. Alright, thanks so much.